Hello everybody and welcome into another fantastic week here of League of Legends on the NECC 2 stream. Fist and Shofchan getting ready for our Champions Great Lake Showdown between Conestoga College and OTSU here in our Champions Great Lake. Both teams 3-2 Shofchan, so should be a very exciting match for us here today.
It really is, Fish. I think that every time we see teams facing each other when they have similar scores in that division, it always calls for more spicy gameplay, and I'm so here for it. We're going to have amazing League of Legends as we have every week. To be fair, every single week I'm like, God damn, I wish Wednesday was here.
I agree. I know they switched it to Wednesday from Friday, and I'm with you. That makes the hump day, as people call it, so much better, because it's like, yes, we get League of Legends, going to work with one of my favorite casters, of course, that is Shofchan, and I'm excited for this League of Legends matchup. And we get some lineups here as well, so let's take a look at the teams that we are going to be seeing here today. Starting with the Condors, we've got Danny's man playing the top lane, Lopenchinsky in the jungle, Become Decker mid, Eternity and Slightly holding it down in the bot lane. Again, this team coming in at 3-2 on a 3-game winning streak as well, Shofchan, so maybe they're hot right now as we're getting into that late season.
Yeah, something is a little different here for OTSU Navy, because they are coming with a win, loss, 2 wins, 1 loss. So they're getting their flow going. But we have the roster already on the screen here for us. Stego, Stenops, I nailed that one, there you go. Shavad, Spaghetti, Slime Tea, and Bladders.
I think the S's on OTSU are going to throw me off. You cannot bring a roster with 4 S's. I got my co-casters, Shofchan. Oh, come on. Somebody had to switch something up. That's too many S's for me. So, as you said, though, coming in a little bit different, as you said. Couple of wins, couple of losses. Well, meanwhile, their opponent on a 3-game win streak. 3-2 as well. Like, the loser of this is going to be in that middle of the pack in the Champions Great Lake. Probably going to have to make sure they start winning out for a playoff spot, or at least a high seed in the playoffs when we do get there. Looks like the pro draft is wrapping up as well. So what are you expecting tonight, Shofchan? Anything you're looking for between these two teams here in our first game?
I think I am always so biased for bot lane, so let's talk about some ADC, shall we? I think I would love to see some Caitlyn as well. It has been going super well in the season. And one thing out of the question that you said, it's week 6? Yeah. What? Where did this season go? Come on, I was so close to playoffs, my God. But yeah, coming back to bot lane, I would love to see something like that with a support like maybe a Nautilus, something that can be very aggressive and just go in from level 2 onwards, maybe even from level 1. Those skirmishes can be deadly in those tribe bushes, and I think that would be very nice. I know that one support did come to my mind that you don't like. It's the Seraphine, and it's the Yumi as well. Both of them, I hope for your sake that they're not coming into play tonight.
Please, I will take. I love me some Nautilus. I love me some Leona. I love maybe even pull out a Blitzcrank. But yeah, no Seraphine. Please, no Yumi. I saw she's getting nerfed. They just simply cannot find a way to get that champion right. Well, I think you're right. I think Caitlyn has really been a dominant force. I know we've seen kind of this uprising of Xayah as well. Once they kind of redid the AD carry out, I think that's another pick to keep an eye on here. But it is Champions Great Lake here. Showdown between the Condors and Ontario Tech. Both teams 3-2. Believe draft did just finish up, so we should be able to take a look at that. And as you've mentioned in past weeks, Shofchan, we kind of get a peek behind the curtain. We got to see what's coming, and we got some spice. I'm just gonna say that we got some spice coming our way here between these two teams as we hop into the draft. Remember, they did draft on pro draft, so the picks will be in LCS order, so some of the bans might not make sense, but we start off with the Shyvana ban, which I have not seen a Shyvana jungle in a long time, so interesting ban there to start off for OTSU.
Yeah, it sounds like OTSU might be going for a targeted ban for Conestoga to Condors, and yo, that Aurelion Soul, the update on it was really nice, wasn't it? It was super expected because it didn't see any play at all since the first season it was released, so it's nice to see that something has been changed to keep this champion back into the meta. We have Wukong next in line for the ban, Camille and Javan for OTSU Navy. The last one is going to be Lowry for Conestoga Condors as we jump into the first picks. Olaf and Gragas locked in, Fish.
I think the Darius is the interesting one. When I saw that, figured it was the Darius top lane, so I think a great pick by Conestoga, as they said, kind of flex that Darius, maybe bait out an Olaf pick, the Vi in response. The Syndra coming out here from Become Decker. I will say, as someone who loved the concept behind Aurelion Sol, how bad he was, as you alluded to, Soapchat, made me so sad. So I have been so excited with this rework, making him popular again. We've seen him banned every week, unfortunately, NECC, but I'm happy to see he's actually getting some merit as we wait for the mid laner here from Spaghetti, and it's going to be that Talia. Haven't seen her in a while, though. She's kind of been up and down in the meta, but right now, there's a lot of CC on the Condors side here. The Gragas and the Talia give them a ton of area control in those team fights.
It does, Fish, and Talia in itself is usually a champion where you see her, sometimes you see her in the jungle, sometimes you see her in the mid lane, and when you see a player having that champion on the field, you're like, okay, they really know what they're doing, because as you said, it doesn't really come to Summoner's Rift that often, so it's nice to see what Spaghetti is gonna show us tonight from Conestoga Condors. The final bans are going to be the Lissandra and Oriana for the red side, and Malphite and Karma for the blue. Caitlyn, as we mentioned earlier, nice to see her coming into play alongside a Heimerdinger, a very pokey lane, but on the other side, Ashe and Varus are very competitive as well.
Yeah,
it was switched up. Okay.
We got baited there a little bit, but yeah, I knew you were talking about the support picks. You're talking about Nautilus. You're talking about Seraphine. You're talking about Yuumi. How about Heimer versus Varus in the support? I know Varus kind of rose to popularity. Riot said we don't want 80 carries to be played as the support. They mentioned they're going to work on it, but it looks like for OTSU, they're like, look, we're going to bring that Varus Ashe, that lane, very, very popular. So I think it will be interesting how that kind of Heimerdinger Varus matchup goes. It means their 80 carries are not going to have a lot of support. This Ashe is not going to have any protection if Vi wants to come in and just slam down with the ult. So I'm excited to see how these teams want to play with these non-standard support picks.
It's so interesting too, because we saw last week as well that we had an Ashe support instead of ADC as we have today. And one thing that I mentioned that you were on board as well was it's not gonna do anything until level 6.
Yep. Until
you get the crystal arrow, you can't do anything around the map. At least you can have some vision. Nice. You can place a ward as well. Anyone can do that. Okay, so if we're talking about a presence for Ashe, we are definitely talking about a champion that has most impact for mid and late game. And having her as an ADC instead of a support, and having Varus as support now, do you have any strong feelings about this one? Would you prefer it the other way around, maybe?
Yeah, I would 100% prefer it the other way around, because the Varus ult is so much harder to get value out of, right? It's a root, it can chain to people. If you have other CC in place, it's easier to chain. But as you mentioned, that Ashe ult, especially if you can go in a support build where you can maximize your CDR, it's like a 30-second cooldown at rank 3. You're just firing those off. If you get a pick, boom, we go in. If you miss, all right, everybody just wait 30 seconds. So I'm definitely wishing those would have been the other way for OTSU. I do think the Varus has some merit. I know Varus kind of was actually the new meta 80 carry support this season, so maybe that's what they're going for. And I will say, just looking at the team for OTSU, Sofchan, the one thing that sticks out, they have a ton of fantastic CC, right? The Ashe Arrow, the Gragas ult's great displacement, the Talia wall. They don't have a lot of damage outside of Darius just going absolute bananas. I'm kind of worried this team's not going to kill anything.
Yeah, and compared to the other side, when you have Syndra with an execute potentially there on the lower end of the health bar, you have Olaf that can chase you down. Vi can chase you down too. Caitlyn is going to be doing massive damage with those crits. We have seen her in action recently, and oh my god, sometimes she doesn't even need to get a headshot. She's going to be doing crits after crits after crits with her build, and that's going to be so good because, as you said, Darius is going to be one of the main damage dealers for OTSU. If, for example, Talia doesn't grow as much. And, well, a Caitlyn can kite a Varus any time of the day, especially with a Heimerdinger next to her, especially with disbursement of the week there from Syndra. You can get Caitlyn peeled very easily on the side of Conestoga Condors, and it might get a little difficult for OTSU to get into that backline.
All right, Rob, I'm totally with you. I think that it feels like this is Conestoga's match to lose, at least just based on the draft. Again, I know we've got about 30 plus minutes of League of Legends that can completely change that, but no, as you said, I mean, Vi can go in. You mentioned the Syndra execute. I feel like Olaf wins that matchup against Gragas because Gragas, unless he goes that bursty build, isn't going to be able to kill an Olaf who's just eventually going to heal back up. So I think there's going to be a lot of risk that OTSU has to take, a lot of pick somehow, maybe an early invade, but as we're just a few moments away from hopping into game one, it seems like we're both on the same page, but I'll let you put your pick out there, Sofchan. Who do you got for game one here in our Champions Great Lakes Showdown?
Just putting me on the spot just like that.
Yeah,
oh my god. Okay. I'll take it. Alright. I would say Condors just based on draft for this one. I think they have a more solid composition. They have ways of protecting their damage dealers, their carries, and I think that as an ADC main, I value that. I appreciate it. And considering OTSU potential of just getting exploded really quickly with Varus, with Talia, with the Ashe, you don't have that much to protect you. Gragas is going to be good, but it's going to depend a lot on how OTSU positions. So just based off draft, I'm going to go Condors on this one. How about you?
I know it's always nice to have casters on opposite sides, so there's some rooting interest back and forth, but I can't disagree with you. I look at the draft, and it just screams to me this should be a Condors win. And you pointed out, how do you protect the Varus? How do you protect the Ashe? How do you protect the Talia? I'm curious about this Darius jungle pick. I believe it was their first pick. Yeah, it was the R1 for OTSU, so maybe they tried some shenanigans, get a favorable matchup. When they saw the Olaf come out, they flexed it down, so maybe there's some Darius pop-up, but I'm with you. The Condors comp just looks too strong. I think they're going to regret that Varus pick. I think they would have probably preferred something you suggested, maybe the Nautilus, something. I'd even take a Seraphine in this comp, something to help them out. But I'm siding with the Condors. We'll see if OTSU can prove us wrong here as we kick off game number one. And I will say, I said OTSU has to be aggressive based off this positioning, Sofchan. I think they're going to look for an early invade potentially.
It does look like Sofish. They're gathering here. 5 stack on the bottom lane. There's just a Heimerdinger. Might have been able to spot them. They have definitely spotted them now. And they're going to have a lot of damage onto them as well, but Slightly is still safe under the turret.
Yeah, unfortunately, Varus, looking for that scouting, gave away his position. As you said, they get some damage, but Slightly can just easily back heal all that off. They don't have a lot of great early CC outside the apprehend from the Darius, so they would have had to have someone in very close range to be able to pull that one off. But so far, nothing that OTSU can do. And it looks like we might have had a bit of an issue, so we'll hop back in as soon as we can. So, but I like the idea, right? I feel like that's what OTSU had to do. It just didn't work, but at least they're showing they kind of understand in this game, comp-wise, they're a little outmatched at least.
Yeah, and I think that at this point, if you try to pick someone out, you have the most poke, right? You have the Ashe, you have the Talia, you have the Varus, so that's definitely going to come to your advantage. But at the same time, as we mentioned, they're going to have to be very smart about it. Sorry about some technical difficulties on our end here. We're going to try to fix that as soon as possible. We don't want to miss anything out from this game. But so far, just regular pathing, regular farming on the jungle. Nothing much to spot.
Yeah, nothing too crazy right now, as you said. Does look like the jungler's starting on opposite sides, so won't even get that early jungle collision between the Darius and the Vi, potentially, unless maybe Darius looks to make a play. Thought maybe we get a flash forward by Danny. One more undertow. Oh my goodness. Nearly picks off the Gragas, but that's going to be an early back and maybe even a teleport here for Stigo. We'll have to see, because he is at risk of dying at any moment now from this Olaf.
So close, Gragas, they're gambling for their life. They had just that one potion to keep them healthy, and it worked. It was very, very close, but it worked. They decided to stick for this lane here. They thought it wasn't going to be wise to lose anything, but bot lane is already going very aggressive on this one, Fish.
Later's taking a ton of damage. Those Heimerdinger turrets, as you pointed out in the draft, Sofchan going to give the Condors a ton of poke. some damage coming out, but he steps on the trap, and Eternity actually gets in range. And this is something this OTSU bot lane cannot afford, is this early damage onto Varus. As I think Slightly wants to go in, but nothing quite yet. No stun there onto Slime, and he'll back away.
Yeah, so far we saw a couple of aggressive positioning from OTSU, some comeback from Condors. They're gonna try to get around here with the Fog of War to help them. I don't know if it's gonna work. Yeah, they baited and going in with a flash and the dash as well. Very close, takes the flash away from Stagger's enough as well, and it's gonna be a nice successful trade. One flash for the other, but still good for the Olaf in the top lane.
Spaghetti taking a bit of damage. We got a flash in the mid lane, a dive onto Stego. Great tower baiting up top. They'll trade kills 1 for 1. But first blood does go to the Condors, and some fantastic job managing that tower aggro from Danny, just standing there. And each team picking up an early kill. Both junglers getting in on the action as well. So even game across the board, and Slightly in company. They want that engage, but this Heimerdinger is starting to run out of mana, which is going to be a concern. As right now they're going to turn on and force the flash away, but Slime T's Q still goes off, and it's a kill for the OTSU bot lane.
Yeah, getting very, very proactive. Both teams on this one. One on 2 for OTSU. And one thing that we mentioned is the potential of poking. This bot lane has been very aggressive because of that, and it's gonna be good for them. They pushed in, shoved. It's gonna be a nice recall, reset, and you don't give Vi that opportunity to scout the area. She's just gonna probably get some warding done, maybe even initiate this Drake. As they do, there's Scuttlecraft vision for the red side, and nobody really close to contest it, so it should be a free one for Condors.
The Heimerdinger rotating up should be free first dragon, as you said. We have Shavati coming up. Danny Manplay's got to be careful, does not have that flash, trying to run away, pops the ghost. Apprehend, gonna pick him up, and that'll be a kill right back. So now both junglers have gone top lane and found a kill, but the Condors will trade this one out, and they have Vi looping around potentially, but this OTSU bot lane very healthy right now.
Yeah, they're pushing very aggressively. That is definitely going to be a call out for TSU to know that maybe someone is around to back them up. Why would they be going so aggressive? They're trying to freeze now, so it's not going to be too deep into the tower. But you still have so much potential for pushing that this bot lane has, and it's going to be easy to come back, push a little ball back, and guarantee that they're going to have a good position on this lane.
Do you see maybe a counter gank mid here for Lopinchinsky? You can see the pings coming out. Yeah, both junglers actually going to run into each other, but the Weaver's Wall going to cut off the Vi. Come Decker barely flashes out of range of that Apprehend, and here comes Vi right on top of the Darius, and they pick up the first kill. So a fantastic counter gank from this Vi gets one back for the Condors in the mid lane.
I don't know if that was intentional, Fish, but here comes Vi. It's from her theme song when she was released. I love it. All right, we're getting onto this one. Both teams not letting the ball drop. They have so much happening on one side and then trying to capitalize on the other. OTSU definitely on the upper hand for this last minute. They're gonna get on this Vi, maybe potentially get a kill on the Olaf as well. And Fish, maybe they're even gonna take the Darius Plus, and they do.
Yeah, fantastic Ragnarok from Danny, picks up one. Can Spaghetti and Stego get in range? There's the ult. It is going to knock the Olaf back. He almost has Flash, but he's going to go down to the Ignite as Flash came off cooldown. So close to escaping. So another 1-for-1 trade, and that really has kind of been the name of the game here. It's 4-3 in kills. Everything has been almost dead even across the board. Really, the only major difference is that jungler CS. Everything else within a wave of itself, and I'm still waiting for somebody to kind of break this lead wide open, Sophia.
Yeah, we're waiting for it. Maybe it's going to happen in the next 3 minutes when we have the next Drake spawning. The damage here, nice! They managed to get a dodge slightly dodged. And the block from the Ashe helps as well here, keeping everyone alive. Pacifier, so close.
Heal's almost up for Blader, so he's free to stay. Meanwhile, Slightly does have to back. Could be a chance, depending on how close this Varus is to level 6, throughout the Chains of Corruption, get the root. And he does hit level 6. This is a very scary spot for Eternity. He does have the cleanse, however. And I think Varus, realizing that, simply going to channel the back. Throws out the Chains of Corruption, and it just misses.
It was a very smart play though. They saw that Caitlyn had no mana, so she wouldn't be able to use the nets. She would have to flash away. But the confidence on Eternity that she knew that it was going to be just out of range, very well controlled there by the player of Condors. And they're going to try to push it very, very fast on this bot lane as well. So they managed to get this wave collapsed under the tower. But other than that, as you said, it feels dead even everywhere we go.
This could be, in the next 90 seconds, a spot for the Condors to kind of push their lead. As you mentioned, they picked up the first dragon. They're shoving out wave. They starting to set up for this ocean dragon here, which would be their second, as they are going to pick up that river scuttle. So there'll be no vision in the river for OTSU. When this dragon spawns, the lanes are pushing. This is perfectly set up. But the problem is, it's about 60 seconds too early for them to do anything about it, Sopchan. And Vi will look for the invade, and there's nothing there either.
Yeah, I think you're spot on there, Fish. They have all the vision control. Look at this river. There is no ounce of it that has left without, with a fog of war. Everything, there's just a little bit here and there, some pixels that are blind, but someone that is not blind is just Vi going in with the flash and the Q. They managed to get this kill very, very easily, and getting the goal for Eternity as well on the Caitlyn, super well executed.
Gonna bring down the Herald, and maybe that's where the gold lead starts to be built, is in the objectives. You've got Dragon up in 20 seconds, Lopinchinsky gonna back. Probably could have stayed and just taken this dragon on spawn, but wants to try and get back to full health is Danny. Gonna pop the Ragnarok jump right onto Stego, gonna dodge the explosive cask and force the Gragas' flash. But this Olaf very low flash forward. Wow, what an aggressive play. I did not think he was gonna get that, but he gets another kill onto this Gragas.
That was outstanding, Fish. Wow, they managed to come back just to grab that axe. They flashed in, threw the axe again, got the final auto attack. Oh, and in the mid lane though, Spaghetti doesn't even want to let this Syndra live. They're very close to dead. The Ignite is not able to force them off. They have to flash away Shivadi here, and the Ace in the hole very close to a shutdown. But all of a sudden, OTSU gets the domination and a priority here for the day.
Dragon does get picked up, not by the smite, but by Ashe, so it's 1-1, and it's Cloud Dragon time once again. Sopchan, I know last semester it felt like every game we did together was a Cloud Soul, and game 1 of this series is no different, as it's another Cloud Soul, which really kind of has to hurt a little bit for both these teams. There's Infernal Dragon was a possibility, Mountain Dragon was a possibility, even Hextech Dragon was a possibility. Instead, we get Air Dragon, and we do get a Weaver's Wall coming down, and this time, Syndra's not getting away as Stego picks up the slam with the cast. Meanwhile, bot side, Slime Tea very low, but able to disengage. Here comes the Darius, though. He wants this kill, doesn't have his flash, though. Gets a perfect stun from Slightly, but I think the damage is just simply too much. Slightly tries to bait it out, save his AD carry, but the apprehend is gonna land. The Noxious Guillotine doesn't kill, though! So Eternity gets a 1-for-1.
Can you believe that? Oh my god, I wish we had a replay, because I think, let's break it down. We had the first stun from Heimerdinger, Slightly hit that incredibly well. Fought on the Darius, managed to get a flash inwards, so they would bait the enemy team for themselves and not on the Caitlyn. Caitlyn manages to get under the tower. Darius is going to commit. They go forward, grab her. As you said, the guillotine is not going to be able to take them down. It's going to be so close. She still has enough to be able to throw the last 2 auto attacks, and all of that because you had Heimerdinger having the attention of Slime Tea and Bladders. Bladders probably. Just on the Heimerdinger instead of Caitlyn. So it worked super well for them.
It's smaller than the diagram.
Hey, even with the non-traditional support pick, slightly playing that support role well, realizing you've got to kind of sacrifice yourself for the 80 carries. He does take quite a bit of damage. This turret is basically one shot, though. Eternity could walk up in range. They have 40 seconds. I think they probably should have committed. That's 160 gold or 80 gold. 160 gold you're leaving on the table with that plate. Really want to see them try and find a way to get this Slime Team Bladers trying to prevent it, though. But I think you got to be aggressive here. Don't leave that gold on the table.
Yes. I think that having Lopensky here, they might be thinking that they have enough time, but it's very tight now on 15 seconds to go. They have pushed plenty mid lane. They have, the chains are gonna miss. They managed to get the tower and so close to taking down the Varus as well. Fish, Ash is gonna be the first one to
Yeah, he called that the Vi was there. Now they want to kill this Darius. Got to make sure they don't group up for the healing. And it's a double kill for Eternity. And now this gold lead, 3.7k for the Condors. In every lane except mid lane now with a sizable advantage. Danny might even find another tower here with this wave. And we're going to see, he might even try and jump onto Stego. Does get knocked away, pops the Ragnarok. Very low health. Is going to fall, but does at least get the tower.
Yeah, they do. The barrel there was very satisfying. Just one hit KO. But I think it was very clever from Condors to push for the towers on both lanes. They had that amazing play happening on the bottom with the Vi backing them up. Syndra as well was around the corner because they were doing a nice 1v1 against Spaghetti too. I think they... Did that come into a loss for Syndra? I think so, because the Talia is on 2 and 1. So it would make sense. But it was still enough to keep the attention away from the bot lane, and they managed to get that one for themselves. So are they getting the Herald? So nice control, up to 4k gold on the lead now.
I think this Herald probably gets dropped mid as well. Gonna crack open all 3 tier 1s for the side of the Condors, which just gives them more and more extended match. But Change of Corruption are going to come out. Cleanse is burned by Eternity, so that will be on cooldown for this next Dragon Fight. Shivadi coming in range, going to apprehend this Heimerdinger over the wall, but the Noxious Guillotine again does not kill. The arrow only going to land onto the Caitlyn. 90 caliber nets away. Shivadi actually picks up the kill onto Heimerdinger. And the nice heal keeps him alive. Meanwhile, Danny gonna pop the Ragnarok, trying to run down Spaghetti. Flash over the wall. Can he get to the blast cone in time? Oh, he's so low. And Vi's coming around the corner. This undertow misses. Ignite goes out. Danny's got to be careful. Uses the W for the shield, and Lipinski gonna come in and get the kill.
Very, very close, but well played. And I think one thing that has been so constant throughout this game for Condors is that presence throughout the map and the ability to communicate to the rest of the teammates and be able to back them up every time something happens. As we are saying that, we have the Olaf, the TP from Syndra 2. They're going to back the Vi up because the last time, unfortunately, they were left alone and the enemy stole the Drake from them. It's going to be the second Drake. Nobody is to be seen from the side of OTSU, so it's going to be the second Drake guaranteed for Condors. I really like it. I really like it. From OTSU, though, do you see that they have to change anything about their gameplay?
I think the biggest thing is Shivadi's just got to, keep a better eye on his Darius stacks. He's given up a couple of kills because he's not at 5 stacks when he pops the Noxious Guillotine. The big thing I think OTSU has to change up is they've got to find someone who can match the Olaf. I think Spaghetti did a really good job, and Spaghetti is playing out of his mind right now on this Talia. But Danny, starting to build some of that magic resist, is going to be harder and harder to kill, and that Gragas was struggling to counter him. I really think that's the one thing I think OTSU has to kind of plan around is who matches that Olaf. Look at him right now. He's free pushing top lane, and there's no one there for him.
One thing that you mentioned there is about Danny. I was thinking that you mentioned in the draft that OTSU had so much CC. At the same time, with the choice of having an Olaf, which is going to be doing a 1v2 scenario, they managed to take one down, so pretty good. And once again, diverging the attention from the mid lane where they were able to take the tower. Nonetheless, my point being that Olaf with Ragnarok, he is able to deny so much CC that OTSU has, so that's going to work super well.
Saw the Ash arrow come bot side, didn't quite land, unfortunately. I think it would have hit had the explosive cast not knocked the Syndra away. But no, I think you're right. The Olaf was a fantastic pick, as you said. That Ragnarok that's going to be pretty much off cooldown at all times. I'm really curious what Olaf is going to do. It feels like we've had a lot of games this season, Sofchan, where there's a player who should split push, and then we've kind of seen that internal battle of like, do I split push? Do I help my team? And it feels like most of the time they picked wrong. I want to see this Olaf kind of go full split push build, ignore his team, and just focus on pushing, because we just saw he won a 1v2. Imagine if he basically gears for that. He's going to be nigh unkillable in that late game.
Yeah, and arriving to that late game, it would be a nice point for OTSU, but they are falling behind massively. We have three players on the side of Condors. They are already level 12, and the rest of OTSU, they're still level 9, a level 10, and that XP is going to make so much difference in the team fights. You have bounties on 2 members of Condors as well, the buy on 4 Orin, 4 perfect ADA so far, and as a jungler, doing their work so well with making sure that they have nice positioning and map awareness all throughout it. The warding and vision from their team has been incredible too. I think at this point, I wouldn't expect to see that many OTSU wards on the bottom side of the river when there's still 2 minutes for the Drake to spawn, and given that Baron spawns in 10, I think in regards to that, Condors have been positioning themselves better.
Yeah, I think the Condors are potentially even maybe setting up for this 21, 22-minute Baron, depending. If a team fight goes out, Weaver's Wall going to come out here. Ragnarok going to be used. He's trying to run down Spaghetti, and this Olaf is absolutely shredding everybody. As the Ragnarok fades, trying to run away, going to throw out the undertow for the slow. Here comes the rest of the team. Nice knockback onto Darius, and there's low health bars. Lopatinski wants to go in. Here comes the Ash Arrow for the shutdown. Come Decker, gonna flash in. Alt can't quite finish off the Darius. Here comes the ace in the hole.
Oh, wow.
And it somehow hits through all of that traffic. Eternity now gonna create some distance. They pick up one. He finds a triple. Does he have one more in him? This Varus is so low, and so is Darius. This is pentakill territory. He just doesn't know where they are.
Oh my god, Fish is gonna be Olaf Danny that's gonna try to get this one in revenge, but Shavadi says, nah, your head is coming out, and you're not gonna take this one. But oh my god, it felt like everything was falling apart for Condors. They went in, first was the Vibe, they were pinned down, they tried to escape, they died. Then you had Syndra become Decker, trying to get an execute. Probably that was some bit of healing that they didn't notice, and it was out of execute range, and they couldn't get the kill either. They died instead. And then all of a sudden Eternity says, let me clean it up. And they come, get the 3 kills, and massive, and maintaining that Caitlyn on 7, 1 and 10, having finished the Gale Force and Infinity Eye. She is doing massive damage.
I'm still shocked that that ace in the hole found its way onto that Gragas, and not only that, it hit Gragas for about like 15% of his life. I didn't even think it was going to kill, even if it landed, and it did. But now we get set up for another team fight. Dragon is going to be started. Chains of Corruption going to land here onto Slightly. The Crystal Arrow to fall. 3 ults for a support. Heimerdinger, though. You have to wonder if that was the correct play. Dragon at 4K. Ragnarok going to be popped. Trying to jump onto Spaghetti, and he goes down. Looking to finish off the team, and they're caught in the blender. Danny over the wall. The ace in the hole once again. And you got to question Sofchan if 3 ults onto Heimerdinger was the right call there for OTSU.
I have your answer, Fish. It was not. it was not the right call. Oh my god. You even had Eternity trying to get a trap below slightly because they thought, well, this teammate, my support, they're dead. They're done for. They're done for. And you see the enemy just wasting all of that ultimate, it's like, okay, keep on doing it. It's fine. I don't mind it. And then instantly after that happens, as Lively gets knocked out, you see Danny and Lopasinski just going in so fast. They read that so incredibly fast, and they managed to get a pin down on the squishies, and basically you have Eternity behind on the backline dealing all the damage with no one from the red team even getting remotely close to them.
And not only Eternity, but as you pointed out when you just Olaf, Danny is just hitting ult and running down Spaghetti, and as you saw in that team fight, there's nothing OTSU could do. They got caught in the Ravenous Hydra. It was cleaving everyone on the team. I would have loved to seen the damage from that fight because I think Olaf actually might have done more. But how do you stop Ragnarok? You don't have disengage if you're OTSU. You just kind of got to eat it, and he's running at Spaghetti and killing this Talia every single time.
I think you're so spot on there, Fish. One thing you mentioned earlier, they have a lot of CC, but they don't have peel potential. They can try to engage. They have the crystal arrow, they have the barrel, they have everything. Oh my god, look at that repositioning with the neck, the peel pod. Not enough though. They're gonna let one person go down for the other, and the shutdown for who was it? Who got the shutdown?
Darius. Shivadi.
Darius, there you go. Amazing.
1,000 gold shutdown on the Darius, you can't complain. The only problem is all the while, Danny's pushing bot side. He gets the tier 2 bottom lane tower, gonna keep pushing, forces Talia to rotate up. Lopinsinski gonna flash in as Bladers flashes away. So a couple of flashes blown, but that big bounty at least gonna help out OTSU for now, but this Baron is just kind of letting the Condors slowly chip away at the base.
We're slowly approaching almost 10k gold lead for Condors. They have all the domination, the control for that jungle. They have the wards, they have vision, they have taken all the buffs. They're going to position here for this next Drake. And wisely enough, they have the detection wards. They don't have just regular wards in the pits, which is something that I mentioned before from OTSU. The vision they had was always a little bit mistimed, and it was just about to expire when the buff was actually going to come up. But this one is going to be another 1v1. Shivadi has to run for their lives, flashes over the wall, and manages to escape.
Flash for Ghost. Traded out there. No, as you said, the warding, as you can see around Dragon, it is all for the Condors. There's only 2 pink wards in the inventory of any OTSU members. Lopinsinski knows this Darius doesn't have flash, does not have the escape. The Q does miss. Cease and desist gonna come out. Ace in the hole. Gonna finish it up though. The Ash stun under tower. Not enough at this point in the game, unfortunately.
Ace in the hole at point blank. Gotta love when that happens. They were thinking that maybe they were gonna try to escape, so the distance would be good with Ace in the hole. Wasn't even necessary. They're pushing really hard, but there's so much clearing that an Ash, a Talia, and a Varus can do, so they managed to take this one out very easily. OTSU trying to protect that base as much as they can on almost 1 minute on the clock for the next Drake to spawn. It's going to be the soul point for Condors, and it's essential for OTSU to try to deny, to try to contest this one, because then they're just going to be the fastest boys in the land.
Unfortunately, it doesn't look like we have the ult blown there by Spaghetti. Stego now forced to flash away. So it's a flash and a major ult that are not going to be up for this dragon fight. As you said, this has to be a contest from OTSU to stop the Cloud Soul from going over to the Condors. And now they're going to be doing it without maybe their only really way to stop Olaf. You cannot Ragnarok through the Talia wall. Chains of Corruption go out onto Lopinsinski. Nice stun on the Bladers. It is going to get the block on the Ace in the hole. Here comes a great explosive cast, but there's just no damage from OTSU. Darius the first one to go down. Stego trying to run away. Undertow nearly takes him out. Slime Tea trying to do the best he can to kite. But what we talked about in the draft, starting to burn OTSU, they're just not doing enough damage anymore.
Yeah, and they don't have damage, they don't have front line. When they do, they just get caught off because you have a Syndra. The Syndra is going to stun the Gragas, the Darius, the Heimerdinger is going to do the same. You have both players, Danny and Lopasiski, going into your backline, dealing so much damage as well. And at the same time, as you said, no damage to be dealt on Condors. And with all the towers standing on the blue side of the map, I will repeat, all the towers still standing on minute 27 of this match, Condors are really looking like the better team.
And now we get to a point in the game we talk about all the time, Swiftchain. How do the Condors finish the game, right? That's maybe some of the hardest thing we've seen from some of these teams in the NECC. Finding a way to secure that victory. A pick here on Conestoga would be a great start. It is a 2v2. Explosive Cast going to start the disengage, and Danny and Decker will simply turn tail. With Baron up in 20 seconds, they don't want to throw away a kill, and I think with this Baron, that's what the Condors want to use to start to shove into this base.
Yeah, Danny pushes very far on this one, but getting some damage too. But they're going to be knocked out really easily with the rest of the team from Condors following up. This might be going into an endgame territory.
How is Danny still alive? He ran in both carries and survived. I thought for sure he was dead. And that should be GG. It's just Slime T and Bladers alive. Flash forward from Lipinski. Can't quite get the kill, but you've got a minion wave pushing. You should at least be able to get one Nexus tower here if you want. And oh my god. Now this should be over.
Oh my god, what a 30 grand eternity. That is even illegal. Oh, the position from the wave as well in the mid lane. That is so fortuitous for Condors. They're going to be able to take not only one inhibitor and another Nexus, so it's another inhibitor in the mid lane. And answering your question there, how do they wrap up this game? I think they just have to get a nice, good fight before Baron. I don't think you even need to think. I don't even think they even need a Baron. There we go. To push this one because they have an open base. But should the time run out a little bit longer and the inhibitors start coming back, I think it's a good idea to get a last fight before Baron, take the Baron, and then just face.
Yeah, the amount of damage they're doing, this should be a very easy Baron into game. Is Shabati trying for a Hail Mary pick? With him down, that is all but guaranteeing the second Baron of the game to the Condors, and now I think it's just a matter of time. Bladers trying to hang around, but there's no way they steal this unless it's a miracle, and if they're not even going to get in range. The Q Hail Mary flash!
Oh, wow.
Not going to find it, though. There was no smite up on this Vi. Meanwhile, here comes the GG. Slime T gonna go down here as soon as that stun fades. Stego gets a little bit of save with the seismic shove, but with only 2 members alive and a Baron, this should be enough for the Condors to win as they'll pad the stats and look to push in the base and claim game number 1.
Yeah, pretty easily as that. They guarantee the soul point, the Barons, and the game. Very beautifully wrapped up. I think that attempt from Bladers as well was really good in trying to steal. It would definitely have bought a little more time, but I don't think that there was any space for OTSU to still try to come back after this one. It's already 30 minutes on the clock, and there's so much that they were already behind. So I think it was indeed a good effort, flashing in, getting the arrow from Varus. They immediately get knocked out, unfortunately, as it has been happening all throughout that match. And fortunately for the Condors, really well executed. And if I am them, I am looking to do a very similar playstyle. I would still keep the Caitlyn if it's open. It has been doing wonders. The Olaf, as you mentioned, Danny, how are they managing to be alive that long? Incredible.
No, I'm with you. I think the only slight change I would recommend for the Condors, and even then, I think I don't want to say that it was bad mid lane play, but Spaghetti was the one player for OTSU that maybe looked like they had a chance if they're not on a Talia, if they're on more of a hyper mid carry. could become a problem. Spaghetti was consistently winning those trades, so maybe keep an eye on what Spaghetti picks. Try and put the mid laner for the Condors in a good spot. But I'm with you. I think they played so well. Very curious. It was one of the few times, I will say, where the draft kind of just predicted what we called it in the draft, right? Not enough damage for OTSU. The Condors draft just looks that much stronger, and that played out in the series. But we'll take a quick break. There's still plenty of time left for a comeback for Game 3 between these two teams and our champions, Great Lake Division, Fish and Shove-Chan. We'll be back with Game 2 on the NECC right after this. Welcome back into League of Legends here on the NECC 2. We've got Conestoga, OTSU, Fish, Sofchan. We're all here ready for Game 2. The Condors, pretty dominant Game 1 win once they got rolling. I will say, jungle, a major factor, right, Sofchan? They only lost one major objective, and as you pointed out, I didn't even notice this. 0 towers lost in an entire game. Unbelievable. So what does OTSU need to do here heading into Game 2 to keep this series going, Sofchan?
All right, let's go from the bottom, right? First off, get your vision going.
Yes.
Buy those wards, get that vision going. How do you think you're going to know when the enemy's trying to get an objective if you don't see them? Second, maybe go for a different draft, I would say. I think a couple of things didn't feel that great in the previous match around that draft. Thirdly, I would say, for example, one thing that ended up being a massive loss for OTSU was how every time Darius was going in trying to get someone in the backline, they failed the guillotine. They had to nail the Noxing guillotine, and it didn't happen. I think it only happened like once or twice the whole match. So what my advice on that would be, make sure that you're seeing everything very precisely on the numbers side of things, that you know exactly the stats for your champion, so you know their strengths, their vulnerabilities, and you can actually have that going on in a better way with your composition.
I think that second part, or that last point with the Darius is a great point as well, because Darius feels like he needs Flash Ghost, right? And I know Darius jungle is a thing. They first picked it in Game 1, I assume is an intentional flex pick. Maybe that was going to be jungle the whole way, but you lose so much value when that Darius cannot have the Ghost in his toolkit. He gets kited. We saw it a bunch. I'm completely with you. I will say the one thing I would add, find a way to keep Spaghetti as your carry. I thought Spaghetti played phenomenal versus Talia. He was out poking. He was out dueling a Syndra time after time after time. Get Spaghetti on something he can be a little bit more active on would be my one thing. It doesn't need to be crazy. It doesn't need to be a Kali or a Katarina or something crazy like that. It just needs to be something a little more active than the Talia. But I think you absolutely nailed it. Now for Conestoga, I think a lot of the same things that they ran in Game 1, they could probably run back in Game 2. I'm assuming there'll probably be some bans. Is there anything from Conestoga that you think they need to change, or do you think if they just come in with the same game plan, they'll wrap this one up?
I think they would. If they came with the same game plan, I think they would wrap this one up. It would definitely be important as well for Condors to respect OTSU, because they know how they're playing right now, and OTSU can't get to adapt. So that's going to be very important. So Conestoga can do many things in the same way, but they have to know that OTSU is going to adapt to it, so they have to keep that in mind. I think one thing that you said around Spaghetti, so spot on, love it. Maybe a possibility of a champion that works well on its own and that can make massive difference in team fights in the mid lane would be assassins on the sort of, not exactly assassins like a Zed, but something of the likes of a Yone, maybe a Yasuo. I don't know if he has been banned, if it is even played by this player, but things that can work like that, where you just go in, do massive damage, and you have the tools to come back. Because you had Spaghetti doing super well with the both, but all of a sudden they just didn't have the backing from the rest of the team. But enough talk about predictions here. Let's have a look at the bans. Already confirmed OTSU, Caitlyn, Vi, and the Aurelion Sol again, and Shyvana, Camille, and the Talia, as we mentioned, for Conestoga Condors.
Yeah, I like the Vi ban. I thought Vi absolutely popped off that game for Lopinzinski. I think the Talia is an interesting ban because you're spot on. I think the Assassins, as I said, you said it as well, the Yone, the Yasuo, looking at the OPGG, Yasuo is something that Spaghetti brings out in solo queue. I know it's a little harder to bring out when all that information is available to you, so maybe that Yasuo gets through. We get the Viego and the Illo out for Condor, or the Alawi for the Condors. I think Alawi should dominate this Ornn matchup. I think this Stego has been in really unfortunate matchups all night long. The Wukong pick, I think, is great. And now you have the Lysandra for Spaghetti. Banned in Game 1. Maybe he'll be able to pop off this time.
Yeah, maybe that was the one key that OTSU was hiding under their sleeves. And Lissandra has the potential to do a lot of damage, but at least she has some more survivability. You know, we know that Talia could have that with the wall, but at the same time, she's always trying to get it in a manner where she can be aggressive and she can go in. Conestoga Condors is going to lock in the Syndra once again. And what do you think of this matchup in the mid lane? Oh, and there's the ban on the Yasuo, okay. Highly predicted. Let's go.
I'm excited because I think this puts Spaghetti, as you said, on a much better champion than he was on in game one. As we get the Olaf ban, I think that probably comes as a surprise to no one. And like I said, I don't think Decker played awful on that Syndra. I thought Spaghetti just played that much better. I think this still favors Spaghetti. I think this is a better champion. I think this is a matchup you have to love for OTSU. The Xayah, though, getting through is a big, big concern. We talked about Caitlyn. Xayah is right up there in terms of powerhouse ADCs. So the fact that Eternity gets basically the next best ADC is a bit concerning, as we're going to get some interesting here. Some very, throwback for OTSU here once they lock in their support. It will be the Cho'Gath, Senna. So this was a very interesting bot lane that I'm not sure how I feel about it.
Oh, okay. Why don't we have a Rakan on the screen? I
Too.
wonder.
Yeah.
Why don't we have the lovers, the bot lane, the best ones together? Okay, I will take the Thresh though. I haven't seen Thresh in a long time. Maybe this is just going to be a storyline themed with where Thresh just takes down Senna and puts her in their lantern. But speaking of Cho'Gath and Senna, I honestly have never thought about this matchup in the bot lane, and I don't know. I just don't know.
I mean, I know we saw a lot of, Senna when she first came out, when, there was a lot of balancing issues. I think we can all agree on how Senna was supposed to be treated as that, AD carry support who would play AD carry, but then she wouldn't get the CS. And so I'm very curious how OTSU wants to handle this, but I think there are better picks than Cho'Gath, because Cho'Gath is just going to get bullied by Xayah in this lane on repeat. I'm with you, though. I think Rakan, we were watching the draft. I don't know, why OTSU didn't pick Rakan, but they called out the bluff. I think the Thresh is an interesting choice for the side of Slightly. As you said, it's something I haven't seen in a while, but I think it's a decent pick. I don't hate it. I think Nautilus probably would have been a stronger pick here. I think Nautilus brings a lot to what Thresh does as well, outside the lore, as you mentioned. I think the one thing, how do you feel about the Wukong here for Shivadi over the Darius in that jungle for OTSU?
Okay, I think we can have very interesting 1v1s on Wukong and Viego. If they meet each other earlier on the Scuttle Crab skirmishes, that would be interesting. I think they are pretty well matched. They would probably both go Conqueror, I would think so. And if they stack just the same, if someone, for example, starts stacking first because they have already started attacking the Scuttle Crab, maybe they're going to have the upper hand with the how Conqueror works, and then be able to take down the 1v1. But to be fair, both of them, they look pretty strong in the early game. And extending the jungle talk to Spaghetti, for example, since they were so dominant in the lane phase, I would think that Shivadi making a bigger presence there would be a lovely play for TSU.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think this jungle matchup's going to be very interesting. I would assume Shivadi's going to try and maybe help pocket Spaghetti. I will say the one thing I like about this OTSU comp, there's not a lot of ways for this Viego to start chaining resets and team fights. The Ornn is going to be very tanky. The one thing that Cho'Gath does bring to the table is going to be very tanky as well. Lissandra can either ice block the Viego or even ice block herself as a defensive to prevent dying. There's a lot of ways they can shut down this Viego, because Viego becomes a problem when he's hopping body to body, getting that healing, getting those iframes. So I really do like that they kind of picked around him. My one concern, though, and it was the first two picks of this draft, I think Alawi's just going to straight body Ornn in this top lane. The amount of life stealing that Alawi is going to have. Stego's going to be for a very, very rough time again against Danny. And I think this Alawi can do a lot of the same things Olaf did in game number 1 for the side of the Condors.
I agree, and I think going for Viego in the top lane, ganking a lot with Ilaoi would be super great because I think she can definitely take care of the on her own. But it's going to be nice to have that support from the jungler, and I think that would be very essential to have Ilaoi in a better stage in the mid game so that it would matter more in the team fight later on, because that is something that we saw it was totally lacking right in the last game, and especially the presence from the Darius and how they managed to be in the team fights but not actually be able to do much, especially when they were getting kited around. So I would say if you are OTSU, go for ganks in the mid lane. Get Spaghetti in a good position. I would say, on the other hand, for Conestoga Condors, I would say go for ganks in the top lane. Get Ilaoi on 1 kill, just straight for the bot lane. Get that Xayah popping. Once you have the Drake spawning, you're going to be able to push in, shove that lane, get control over the area, as we have seen that they can do super well, and then just stack on stack on stack on objectives, and that should do the world of good for Conestoga Condors again.
No, I think that's a perfect game plan. That's exactly what I'm looking for. I think, as you said, getting that Xayah ahead, especially with this kind of non-traditional bot lane. I will say, this one does not feel as easy to call for me as we hop into Game 2 here of our Champions Great Lakes Showdown. Sofchan, do you have a pick? Because honestly, I'm pretty 50-50. I lean Condors if you had to, make me choose just because of what I saw in Game 1. But this draft, a lot better for OTSU. I'll take the Condors. Who do you got in Game 2?
I will take the same. And to be fair, even though I do think that Condors displayed a very, very neat game style in the last match, and that is definitely going to influence me in my prediction today, I am going solely for skins. Let's have a look at those. You have Xayah, I think it's Redeemed Star Guardian Xayah. You have the Dark Star Thresh. You have the other skin in the mid lane as well for Syndra. Is it Spirit Blossom or something? They are just gorgeous. Here in the top lane too, everyone has gorgeous skins, and to me, skins win the game, and that's just it.
I will say the only counter for the skins, and I couldn't quite tell because he was standing in the brush, is what skin we have for Slime Tea. If it is Gentleman Cho'Gath, which it's not. There's not even a skin on that poor Cho'Gath. Never mind.
Oh no.
I'm one of the few. Gentleman Cho'Gath is the best legendary skin Cho'Gath has. You can miss me with Battle Cast, but unfortunately, it is a naked Cho'Gath in the bot lane for Slime Tea. The poor Cho'Gath.
Oh, amazing. All right. Let me just have a look real quick here. Yeah, so we have Shivadi and Lopesinski with Conqueror, as I mentioned. So one thing that can happen is their encounter in the Scuttle Crab. We'll see if they're going... Yeah, they're on opposite sides, so it would mean that they wouldn't mate each other. But we'll see how that's gonna go. And Slime Tea, please surprise me with your gameplay as a Cho'Gath APC. I want to see what this is all about.
I do think the one thing that this lane really depends on is how well Bladers can, not CS of course, but find ways to get those stacks. Is Danny gonna jump onto this Ornn? Nice shatter though. There's a ton of damage coming out. Stego playing that E perfectly. One of the most annoying abilities to deal with on Alawi is that clone steal, but how many souls Bladers can get, which this is interesting. Usually you don't see the support player on the carry Senna. So I'm very curious how Blader's ADC skill is, how's his positioning, but how many souls he can get early on is going to be massive against this Thresh here, which this actually might be a question for you, Sofchan. I know in ranked games, the mini quests are turned off. Is that the case for NECC, or will we get that Thresh Senna soul battle at the 45-minute mark?
That is a wonderful question. I have absolutely no clue. I don't think we have arrived to a 45-minute game in a while. Red buff dealing a lot of damage and slowing down Become Deca, but that is going to be a nice disengage, and they keep themselves healthy. Oh, look at that!
Oh, unfortunately, the Flay does miss. Do get a great root here. Slime Tea and Bladers doing a great job. Sustaining. Nice knock up here onto Eternity. Forced the flash away. The lantern was down, but the flash cleanse being burned. Another hook onto Bladers there, but no Flay this time. Slightly doing his best to kite. Couple of feathers going out. Eternity has to be very careful. He is very, very low health. But I think right now the OTSU bot lane is kind of dominating this matchup. Lipinski coming top lane. I've seen this story before. Danny and him diving onto Stego. Will they execute it perfectly once again? And the answer is yes, they will.
Yeah, but you look at that. Wonderful. And I'm not going to say that I predicted it, but I predicted it. Lopasinski going to help there in the top lane. Really nicely done. They forced the TP from Stego Stenops, and I would highly go for a push in the bottom lane now. It's also something that was indicated by the pathing in the jungle they had. So they started in the blue buff, went to the red buff, and then they managed to get the gank in the top lane, and then come back and rotate once again once the buffs and the jungle start respawning in this bottom half of the map, and then they can get the pressure for the first Drake and the bot lane as well.
I've really been impressed, though, by this bot lane of OTSU, I will say. Doing a great job against Eternity and Slightly. I'm very curious so far. I mean, last game we saw basically as soon as Dragon spawned, the Condors were all over it. Lipinski's down there, but nothing too crazy right now. And so, curious how long it'll take him to pop onto that Dragon, if at all, for the Condors.
I think they're having good communication, that Fish, because we can see that Viego is still farming that jungle, so they probably communicated, said, all right, you can delay a little bit the push in the bot lane so they can come in. It's gonna be shoved. They're not gonna be able to take any towers because they fear that I'm around, and then you can come back, push while they're resetting, and then we can go straight for the Drake.
They are on that Drake, though. Shavati is up there as well. Meanwhile, Danny going to jump once again right onto Stego. Not quite level 6, though, for this Alawi, but will break the clone, and that's going to just be more damage onto this orange. Spaghetti coming down as well. On to become Decker. Going to try and jump forward. Actually doesn't take the root, but he was out of mana as well, so that playing a role, and that should mean this is a free dragon. Is this Lissandra? Not enough mana to help contest down on that dragon.
Yeah, good decision from Shavati, though, to go in the mid lane, force that as well, and Lopasinski hovering the area, getting that presence as well, so you don't let your opponent feel too comfortable, and that is being very well executed. Slightly is going to the mid lane too to back them up. So I think both teams are really trading well what they have in front of them. So far, Condors ahead because of that first Drake, but I am really enjoying OTSU bringing a more adaptive playstyle this time around.
Oh, Stego is just begging to be tower dove. Danny is around. Lopasinski in the area. Here comes Shavati, though. Another just fantastic poke by this Alawi. That will... Ooh. Slightly looking for the hook. The death sentence not going to land, though. Viego now coming into the jungle on Shavati. Neither jungler level 6, so no Cyclone to escape. There's a Blast Cone there. Wukong actually going to Blast Cone back into the buff. That could be a crazy steal. Meanwhile, death sentence, but a nice knockup from Slime T. Should be enough to potentially finish. Slightly the feathers miss. Oh, Shavati's so low, going to flash over the wall. But there's become Decker with a great kill. Another death sentence from Slightly. Saw the call to Forge God come out top lane, but nothing comes of it, and this is simply just going to be a dead Ornn, I think, and that is the case for Danny and Lipinski once again. But Danny?
That is a big old shame. That would have been so perfectly executed for Condors. To be fair, I loved the play from Shavati pretending to be the clone and then flashing over the wall. Very close death sentence there from Slightly. They have been hitting quite a few of them, so good job here in the bot lane. But the follow-up from Become Decker, flashing and stunning to get the kill on Shavati, was beautifully executed.
Feel bad for Stego in the top lane. He has just been getting bullied game 1 and game 2. The tower dives have been constant up there, though. Look at this, a plate for Bladers and Slime T. I think this bot lane, I will have to say, Sofchin has surpassed our wildest expectations, at least early on in the game.
They have, and I agree with you. I believe that if it was a Nautilus, it would be easier for Condors to have that fight going, because Nautilus is going to be more beefy anyway, and you're going to have more survivability. But we're going for a fight here at the Herald. A lot of damage going onto the spawn. Very close to taking down Loprasinski as well. Shivadi might be going ham for this one. They managed to get one down. Spaghetti following up, and they steal it. Shivadi guarantees the buff, and OTSU coming on top of this fight here, Fish.
Can't quite find a way to kill the Alawi though. The life steal. Ooh, the flash forward. Bladers has to flash away from the death sentence. Flay under tower onto Slime Tea, but he doesn't draw tower aggro, so he stays alive and now gets the back away. But that's only the second objective that OTSU has got this entire series. A massive steal for them. Now, where do you put this Rift Herald, Soph-Chan, if you're the side of Shivadi? Uh-oh.
I would say the mid lane. Oh my god, Eternity taking down in the blink of an eye. Spaghetti might be in the wrong spot. He managed to get some damage dealt. They interrupt the dash as well. Very close. One auto attack should suffice, but they flash forward to take this one and guarantee that no Spaghetti would be left uncooked.
Oh.
I think I'm kind of proud of that one.
That one was very, very good. I give you full props for that.
Thank you, thank you.
Oh man. I will say Spaghetti has been not as effective on this Lissandra as I had hoped. But again, I think a lot of the tension in this game too has been right where we're looking right now. It's a 25 CS lead for Danny up in this top lane. He's got a full level lead. There's no heal cut on this Ornn yet. Heal cut has got to be the first item you buy against Alawi.
Yeah.
That's concerning for Stego. Is that Demolish going to just break the tower even more? They need heal cut in that top lane. Later's trying to chase down slightly. Going to get the root. Lipinski is there as well. Box going to go up to play away, but a great rupture as well. And Bladers picks up the kill. Spaghetti over the wall. Lipinski is fighting this. Wukong takes a ton of damage. Great double knockback from Become Decker. Now Eternity rolling his way up as well, but Shivadi and company gonna get away, and this Mountain Dragon should go over to OTSU.
Yeah, the priority's theirs. But one thing I wanted to say, Condors doesn't look to be giving this one up that fast. Nice roots. They managed to get away from it. Just one person gets rooted down on that one. Silence onto Decker. They are taking down. So is Eternity. But they managed to take one person before they end up falling. And OTSU really coming out on top of these fights. Fish, one thing that I wanted to say is that Blast Cone that popped Eternity away from the fight, if that was from any of the players on OTSU, well done. Well hacking done. That was incredible.
That was a fantastic Blast Cone, as you said, and I did not think OTSU was going to win that fight. Again, I think the one big thing is how they're going to find a way to try and take down this Alawi in the top lane. We do get an Infernal Dragon this game, so
Hey!
a meaningful dragon in Game 2. Sorry to all my Cloud Soul enjoyers, but it just simply not have the oomph as everything else. This is a massive dragon, especially if you're OTSU. If you can continue to find ways to use your bot lane advantage, they're going to absolutely annihilate these Drake fights. And I will say, the big difference, these ruptures from Slime Tea on Q gets another knockup. I have very rarely ever seen a Cho'Gath with this high of an accuracy on his knockups before. He's landed almost every important one.
They have, and that is working super well. So one thing that we mentioned, Slime Tea, show us how to do it, how to pull off this matchup. Yeah, you definitely are. Right now, with a lot of CS in front of Eternity, and the pressure that they have been able to input this one, the Senna is gonna be forced to stop that back. Would probably be popped in the mid lane. I think maybe Condors are trying to push a little too hard on this one. They need the backup from the rest of the team to take the Cho'Gath down.
Yeah, I think the Condors need to really back up in bot lane, not only because they're not winning these fights, but every fight, every engage, you're just giving more and more souls over to this Senna, which is ultimately the win condition for OTSU. With as well as Spaghetti is playing, with as well as Shabati has been, it is the souls on this 1-0-4 Senna that are going to be the difference maker. Rupture gonna get a great knock-up. Plate should fall. Actually, no, they didn't get the plate. They missed out. Oh, no.
Yeah, very close. Condors, again, always in a spot where they almost get things popped. Box is going to be popped, and it's going to be a takedown for Viego Lopasinski, really putting some pressure here. And every time we see something happening that's good for Condors, is going to be Viego around, but a targeting turret is going to take them down. Zaya gets the kill though in the top lane. It's going to be Danny in a very, very bad spot. But, well, if you fight around these tentacles, you're gonna be slashed to death. And so they did. There's so many minions as well to back up on this wave. But they're going on to the Alawi, so close to being dead. But as you said, they don't have grievous wounds. Look at you see how much that Alawi healed.
Yeah, as soon as the ult came out from the Alawi and it was 2 melee champs, I knew it was over, and not for Danny. He absolutely insane healing, and as you mentioned, there's no grievous wounds. The Orin build path is so flexible, you need early grievous wounds against a champion like Alawi. The fact that that still isn't built, and there's only one Ignite on the entire team. It is on that mid lane in Spaghetti, so maybe if Spaghetti's the one that's going to match this Alawi in the mid game. But other than that, absolute disaster. I will, as you pointed out though, the tower helping Lopasinski go down, that's now another kill onto that Senna. This is... I'm not quite sure I like where these builds are going bot lane. I'm going to be honest, Sopchin. I was hoping for a tank Cho'Gath and a carry Senna.
Oh.
That doesn't quite look like that's the route we're going.
It does not. It really does not. Very interesting. Okay. Well, I'm not going to question that much because the gameplay has been on point for them.
Yes.
It really required a Lopasinski going in the bot lane to be able to take those two down. So I think we're okay for the moment.
Shadow comes out, gives the shield to the Wukong. Stego, unfortunately, going to miss the knock-up, and here comes Danny. Lopasinski picks up one, but here comes Spaghetti on the backside. He's looking for a kill onto this Viego, gonna throw the Ignite and simply pick up the kill. But that means there's no healing cut for Danny. Teleport gonna come in from Decker. If this Alawi can get in the middle and pop the ult, absolute insanity. Nice ult there onto Eternity, tries to cleanse it, not able to. Stego gets slapped down by the tentacles. There might be one coming Blader's way as well. Oh, the knock into the kill. They do lose Become Decker, so that was a very chaotic team fight. It actually goes the way of OTSU.
It did. And as you said, very chaotic there, Fish. I think that at one point you felt like someone was on top and then the other was. And that final kill, I think, was a little too aggressive from Become Decker. They ended up... I mean, of course, you are committed. Might as well just finish things off. But it was very close to getting that tower aggro. And they did go down because of it. So, well, as you said, OTSU came on top of that one. The Drake is on the board. We're going to have to see what is going to be the rotation and the priority that these teams are going to choose. We apologize once again for any technical difficulties. They are gathering here. Slightly tries to get that hook. Doesn't land. Shibari is in a very bad spot, but Call of the Forge is joining as well.
Slightly going to use that immediately, though. Eternity goes down, the big carry from game number 1. They lose Lopasinski as well. Here comes Danny. But unfortunately, the ult not going to come out just in time. He will pick up one kill from the grave. Charge forward on to slightly Become Decker. Still alive, trying to burn down this Ornn, and he does. Bladers now in a 1v1 here against this Senna. Has some backup from Spaghetti as well coming in. I think this Senna should get away, but another team fight win for OTSU. Game 2 looking more and more in their favor, though. The gold lead is basically dead even right now. Slightly going to go in OTSU's favor once they pick up this second dragon of the game for themselves.
Yes, and one thing that we saw last game was the team that got the second Drake was the team that won. So it's that pressure in the mid game that you have to establish. And at this point, OTSU really showing that they can do it. Very close Become Decker trying to steal this one. They don't have that. tries to happen. There was a TP as well. I believe it was Stenovs that went for joining the fighting. But OTSU guarantees that Drake, as you said, and we're gonna fight for another one. Shivadi might be getting caught up on this one, and they're very close to dead. One more hit, and it finishes off. Lopasinski has been taking most of the kills. If I was Eternity, I'd be like, please just leave a couple for me.
Yeah, Eternity has not had the same impact that he had in game number 1. Only 2, 4, and 3 on the Zaya, as you said. A lot of those kills going to Lopatinski, a lot of those kills going to Danny up top, as you can see. I mean, the bounties are everywhere that Danny cannot get to, right? 5 and 1 in the mid, 5 and 2 on both bot lane carries. But look at the champions Danny's facing. 1, 5, and 6 on both of them. This Alawi just needs to simply be in more fights. As Slightly has to now run away. Gonna get knocked up in the air. I don't think there's a follow-up CC. There is. The root is there. The death sentence lands. Tries to play away. Call the Forge God going to come out. And that's a kill for Stego. Right near that mid tower. And OTSU gets another big win in their pocket.
Yeah, that was very nice for them. They managed to chain the CC, as you mentioned, and that is going to be super great for them. That's one thing that they had last game as well. They had a lot of CC, but didn't have the damage to follow it up. This time they have Shivadi, they have the Cyclone. And speaking of Wukong, might as well be dead, because that tower is going to target you for days. Gotta be careful with the Condors following up. Stego might be in a very bad scenario here. Very close to that. Healing and shielding from the center is not going to be enough. And Condors just takes this fight on their shoulders. It's going to take down the tower as well. And they're starting to say, well, we still have a lot to deliver.
One problem for the Condors. Unfortunately, that kill doesn't go on to Eternity. He's begging for some of that gold. A shutdown onto the Alawi. There's more than enough gold already for Danny, and they're going to actually hop onto a Baron. 21 minutes. There's no wards. One thing that I think the OTSU has still struggled with. Danny has to be careful. This Baron could eliminate him and give away the entire plan. He barely makes it out alive. And that's Baron over to the Condors. And I think the question for you, Sobchan, we talked about this in game 1. Do you think Danny needs to be with the team, or do you think this is a hull breaker, Ilawi, split push, win the game by yourself kind of strategy that the Condors need to bring out?
Well, one thing that I really wanted to follow up on that you said is the vision. Come on, please. I understand that it's not like we don't have vision from OTSU. It just feels like sometimes the vision has to be renovated, right? It's not because you landed a pink ward in one bush that you can't put another ward in another bush. Just do it. It's okay. It's not gonna hurt, you know? So might as well replace the ward, might as well just get something closer to the objectives, closer to something that might be the priority in this stage of the game, so that it actually helps you in the long run. Right now, Condors with the buff are going to be able to close, very max range there. They are going to be able to push and even defend much better, because OTSU had the advantage on it, and this time it's going to be them trying to defend the hyped up boosted minions.
Danny Lopinski up in this top lane. Stego trying to defend best he can. Slime Tea on the way up as well. The more melee that are in range of Danny, the worse it's going to be. There is still no heal cut on the side of OTSU besides this Ignite. Please, please, someone, Thornmail, anything.
Yeah, it doesn't look like they're building anything like it. In the mid lane, we had a lot of pushing, but Spaghetti is going to go onto this mid lane and become Deca. It's going to go down really quickly, because with the backup from the team, we have Shivadi, which is one of the biggest damage dealers in the game as well for the side of OTSU. It's been working wonders for them. Let's see how they can wrap it up. If you are Condors, you have the buff. There's still 15 seconds, and you have the priority in your position in the river as well. And how does OTSU defend this before there is another Baron spawning?
I think the big question for this Dragon is what Danny's going to do. Will he join his team? Will he continue to split push? Does have the teleport available as the dragon spawns. He's going to channel the back. And I think this is just a conceded dragon here from the Condors. Even with this Baron buff, it is going to put OTSU on Soul Point. The Hull Breaker is going to be finished for Danny. So now we know what he wants to do. He wants the split push. And I think this is a huge thing that OTSU has to deal with. Because looking at this team stuff, Chan, I don't think anyone can 1v1 Danny. So it's who has to be taken away from the team fights in order to slow down this Alawi.
Yeah, and with Soul Point just ahead of them for TSU, that has to be their priority. They have to get the warding done. They have to position themselves for the Soul Point. It's going to be so massive to have the Infernal Soul at their disposal. There's not going to be any lack of damage whatsoever this time around. But they're going for an engage. Nice dodge. And slightly is going to pop the ultimate before the rest of the team from OTSU can gather.
Here comes Danny with the teleport into the mid lane. Call the Forge God gonna come out, but it's Spaghetti, the first one to fall. Shavati gonna go down as well. Danny trying to jump onto this backline. A nice triple root though, coming out from Bladers. Double stun from Become Decker, and here come the Condors pushing down the mid lane. They try to jump onto Stego, not able to find it. Another fantastic E from Danny, gonna put more damage and more tentacles in the way. Slime Key with a Rupture Snipe. I think this is going to be a mid-tower for sure as Bladers and company have to back.
Yeah, they're going to push this one. Tower is going to go down, and inhibitor as well. There's only 2 people standing. Nice rotation there. Danny going to focus on the wave in the top lane as well. They're going to try to take this one down, but Stego and Bladers are going to try to defend. A lot of damage. Eternity has to flash away, and Danny is also in a very bad spot. Flash from Bladers too, and it's going to be 2 flashes for 1 kill in this fight, but they managed to at least protect that tower in the top lane.
Would have liked to see Danny turn around. He had the Leap of Faith, which gives, I think, 75% lifesteal when active, as now Eternity goes down as well. Good news here for the Condors. There's nothing on the map for OTSU, right? There's maybe a tier 1 bot lane, a tier 1 top lane. There's nothing of value for them to take while these 2 members are dead, unfortunately.
Yeah, they're going to try to do something. They have eyes on Lopasinski. The root is going to land. The flash forward from Slightly is going to defend them, and they're going to take down the center. Follow-up from Become Decker as well is another one down, and this time the backup from OTSU was crucial to try to turn this fight around. Lopasinski going down on health. Become Decker is still there, but there's still so much in that health bar to be able to do something. Spaghetti coming though.
Eddie looking to try and turn things around. Cannot find a way in. Does have the Frozen Tomb if he can find the one on to Lopasinski, but that was the Viego that I was worried about. The Reset City coming out. Lopasinski going to try and go in. Stego and Slime Tea channeling the backs. Rupture going to miss. Here comes Spaghetti, gonna cancel channel over the wall, but here is Danny. He's in range. Lopasinski is going to fall. Leap of Faith going to be popped. 1 melee eliminated. A second one obliterated by the tentacle monster himself. And Danny is absolutely ready, and I think this is just a Baron for sure right now.
Yeah, it is another Baron with most of the summoner spells on cooldown. Only Slime Tea with their TP available. They're going to have massive damage, especially with Zaya and Danny. And oh my god, where did those people go when the tentacles exploded? They're going to try to get something on this one. The Blue team has stolen Baron Nasher. OTSU Shivadi manages to out-ignite. That's the one. the Baron. What an incredible turnaround.
Yeah, the only downside for the Condors is they were doing that on the River Scuttle, so the free ward OTSU picked up paying massive dividends, and that's why we've been trying to tell them to buy more wards, because look what they can do for you. But the Baron's stolen away. They do lose Shavati in the process, so really more of a preventative Baron than anything else. 30 seconds here on this Infernal Soul, and I will say, Danny might want to just go back and sell that Hull Breaker because he's just team fighting more often than not. He's not getting a whole lot of value out of it. If he's going to keep team fighting, there's no reason to have that item, but we'll have to see if he sticks around for the dragon fight in 20 seconds or not.
Yeah, we'll see. They don't have the teleports going to be up in a little bit. They have just walked to the pit. They're gathering around, waiting for something to happen. It's 6 seconds to go. They're clearing out vision, getting vision for themselves. Lily has popped the movement speed, and they're going to start brawling before this one happens.
Danny does have the ult available. Keep an eye on where he can get that leap of faith off. The 3 tentacles being spawned, especially in a short quarter like this, could be disaster. Death Sentence going to go out. Spaghetti going to go in, and Spaghetti going to go night. Danny gonna pop the ult, and the tentacles are here. They're just killing everyone. Oh no, Become Decker gets one. And I think that emote's correct for Lupazinski. I think it's game over for OTSU.
Wow. It's just as you said, there were so many tentacles in that enclosed place, and my dude, that 10-3-9 Ilawi is going to melt you down, and that's what they did. Condors guaranteeing a sweep in this series on a week 6 of NECC. Incredibly done, but OTSU really came back around, and they were playing amazingly well all throughout this match. I think they really picked up the pace from the first game of the best of 3 fish, and it made the whole world of difference. Unfortunately, that one play, that one ultimate just managed to take everyone down into an ace, into a base destroyed.
Yeah, I think you're right. OTSU from game 1 to game 2, massive improvements. But the problem is they made improvements in the areas that were very weak. It's the little things that cost them, right? No healing cut on that Ornn until it was way too late in the game. The Senna build, not what you were looking for, because I think that Senna had a lot of souls. I think the potential was there, but there's no Infinity Edge finished yet. You did not have that burst that you're expecting from a support Senna who is decently fed. So now it was those little things, right? I think the warding we talked about, still a little iffy. They only got that Baron because of a River Scuttle. It wasn't even like a ward they had placed down. But I think you're right. In terms of the big picture, OTSU, massive improvements. And it really was the fact that Danny on that Ilawi just was unstoppable in the top lane.
Absolutely unstoppable. How could you fight that one? And I think it would be rough team fights, right? If you are in a 5v5 situation, it's going to be hard if you are OTSU. Maybe the way out would have been to try to get those pick-offs, to try to get the steals, because we saw that Smite game being on point from Shivadi. So maybe that could have been something to save the game. Unfortunately for them, they're going to take the loss in this match. And Condors, congratulations for 2 games, super well played.
Yeah, 4 wins in a row now for the Condors. They move to 4-2 in our Champions Great Lake. OTSU will fall to 3-3 and kind of continue that win-loss trend that you highlighted at the start of the broadcast. Well, that will do it for us here on the NECC. We got to wait till next Wednesday, Soapchan, to do it again. You have any final thoughts as we wrap up our week 6?
My final thoughts is something that I mentioned at the beginning of the broadcast. How did we get here? This is so fast. Yeah. 6 weeks. Where did the year go? I don't understand. All of a sudden, we're just so close to playoffs. And I am excited, beyond excited to see what we're going to bring to the table in the broadcast, because we all know we have many divisions, many conferences happening all at the same time on these Wednesdays for League of Legends, for all the other days in the week, for the other titles. And what we can bring to the table for the broadcast is always smashing. So I hope to see maybe one of these teams that we have casted in the season previously going into the playoffs, smashing those games, getting incredible plays, and just making us just so hype and allowing us to bring incredible content to the audience.
Soapchan said, if you're a video game fan, come back every week on the NECC. If you're a League of Legends fan, we'll be back next Wednesday with week 7. How did we get here? Exactly what Soapchan said. Cannot believe it's almost over. We got League of Legends next Wednesday. That'll do it for us tonight, everybody. Have a great evening, and we'll see you guys next week.